Hello everyone and welcome back to Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us. Today I have the distinct pleasure of reviewing the Kiwi Ears Septet. Kiwi Ears is a well-known manufacturer of quality earphones. They're on a roll lately. In a short period of time they have introduced a number of new products, some of which I've already reviewed, including the Aeroso. And the interesting thing about Kiwi Ears is they're not known to be a manufacturer with a rapid release schedule. For example, like KZ. So this in of itself is very interesting. The Septet is a 7-driver per side hybrid utilizing an interesting mix of 4 different driver technologies. On top of that, the Kiwi Ears have blessed the $269 USD, that is the suggested retail price at the time of this video, Septet, with a true open back design, which is unusual in the iems space. If you can see the grilled motif and underneath is a perforated grill, that's a true open design. You can hear as much sound from the back as from the front. Each side boasts a driver complement, which is impressive. A single 10mm composite dynamic driver, which manages the bass. 4 balanced armatures responsible for the low, mid, and mid-treble. 1 micro-planar driver for the high treble, and an additional Piezoelectric driver, which according to Kiwi Ears, and I'm quoting here, enhance the texture and clarity in the upper registers, working in harmony with the MPT drivers to refine the overall soundstage. Sounds like a lot of marketing hype. In this industry, there's lots of marketing hype, but I will tell you that Kiwi Ears here, this is not just about marketing. They've done a wonderful job. A 5-way passive crossover and 3 tuning tubes are employed to make sure that these drivers play nice with each other and your ears. Folks, that's a lot of tech. That's a lot of tech, but bravo to Kiwi Ears as they have pulled off what many, I'm sure, could not. The Septet offers up a cohesive and detailed sound with a good measure of musicality thrown in. They claim that the Septet is a result of 2 years of development, a claim that, given the results, I will not even attempt to dispute. Tuning-wise, the Septet offers a balanced sound signature with a slight sub-bass prominence. In fact, depending on the track, the Septet fooled me a few times, sounding more like a moderate U-shaped tuning, veering away from the perfectly balanced playback. A capable source is highly recommended. With good power delivery, as the Septet I found was noticeably harder to drive than a number of iems I've had recently. So that's something to note. Also, tip rolling is something that I will have to say is mandatory, and let me explain, and this is important part of the review. I found that the Septet's performance, in particular that of the mid-bass, was best with tips that allowed for a deep insertion and a perfectly tight seal. Otherwise, the sub-bass would lose its control, become less defined, and the mid-bass would then lack note weight, sounding almost thin at times, unnatural. With a good set of wide-bore tips in hand, the sound quality was maximized and the Septet became eminently enjoyable IEM. Once again, tip rolling on the Septet is absolutely mandatory, possibly due to its open back design, which is just a large vent, although there are 2 other smaller vents on the housing. Is that a seal has to be perfect. The insertion depth has to be good, the seal has to be perfect. The bass is affected right away and not in a good way. But once you have the tips that will allow for the proper insertion depth and seal, the sound really comes into its own. So let's talk quickly about specs. We talked about the driver configuration already. 5-way crossover, 3 tuning tubes, rated power is 5 milliwatts, maximum 10 milliwatt. impedance 15 ohms, sensitivity 95 dB, SPL per milliwatt at 1 kilohertz, frequency response 8 hertz to 30 kilohertz, take it for what it is. Total harmonic dissociation less than 1% at 1 kilohertz. The cable is a 5N OCC copper, 0.78 millimeter 2-pin, as we can see here with the 2-pin connector. Cable length 1.2 meters, and the plug on the cable is modular, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. Build and fit. The Septet is an attractive IEM, but in an understated way. I would like to call this a throwback motif. Somehow the rear finish on the cap just seems like an old microphone or some kind of old tweeters I used to see back in the day. The IEM follows the design cues from most recent Kiwi Ears designs, that being simple but elegant in looks. The back of the IEM has the open slats, through which you can plainly see a perforated grill. Hopefully you can see that on camera. Part of its open back design, no doubt. Comfort-wise, the Septet is of medium size and yet average comfort. There is a prominent nozzle. See it right there. Definitely a prominent nozzle, which, as mentioned above, does make tip rolling mandatory, in my humble opinion. And once finding the best tip for fit and, of course, insertion depth, long listening sessions were comfortable without an issue. Now let's talk about the included accessories. I'm going to move the Septet to the side. So here's the Kiwi Ears case, the typical Kiwi Ears case that comes with a lot of their products. Inside the case, there are extra tips, a modular cable, and we have tips, and we have more tips for the modular cable. I need to talk about that cable. Let's talk about it. The cable is a standout and is a noticeable step up for Kiwi Ears from the usual nondescript black thin cables that usually accompanies their products. It's a beaut, folks. It's haptics. It's very soft. A beautiful color. Again, it has a modular tip. And thankfully, Kiwi Ears ships with both 4.4 millimeter balance and 3.5 millimeter single-ended tips in the box. The cable's a keeper. So bravo Kiwi Ears for stepping up. Haptics and visuals of the cable are nice, and again, an improvement when compared to past offerings. I would say a vast improvement. So as we move aside that, let's start talking about the sound. What about the sound? Bass is nicely laid out with a sub bass that has rumble when called for, with good but not outstanding detail. Mid bass has a nice punchiness to it and speed with great control and slightly better detail than the sub bass. The bass does not bleed here into the mids but stays in its place. Bass has a pleasing control and ample power and slam when required. While not bass head in that you will not be slammed with bass when listening, for example, to choral music, bass head people out there, the Septet has more than enough bass drive and power when required to satisfy, I'd say, the vast majority of people, for sure. This is not a bass-shy IEM, but it's not going to throw the bass in your face for no reason. If the track calls for it, the Septet will respond. The overwhelming character of the bass is that of being musical and maintaining the sonic characteristics heard throughout the rest of the frequency range. As such, it really serves as a fantastic underpinning to the rest of the frequency range. It has a low end that does not push up to the front of the line when called all the time, or I should rephrase that and say it has a low end that does make itself known when called for, but is not out there wanting to be head of class all the time. It is a great low end, and it is a beautiful complement to the rest of the frequency range. While not bass head, it has ample power. Mid-range. The mid-range is interesting here. Kiwi Ears have walked the tightrope successfully and achieved a number of sonic balances that I find very engaging. The mids have a nice warmth but are still detailed. There's lots of clarity, but no feeling of coldness or being sterile. The mid-range is lively, yet never feels sharp or grainy. Vocals are more immediate than recessed and have a wonderful clarity to them. Both male and female. Instruments sound organic and alive, adding to that pull-you-in factor. The mid-range has a clearly very open sound to it. Whether this is due to the open back design or a combination of factors, it is unmistakable. When listening to He's a Karaoke by Eden Atwood, the width and breadth of the instrument arrangement in the soundscape was wonderful to hear and actually addicting. I kept going to other tracks that I really don't use for eval from her wonderful album, by the way, and I just kept listening to the whole thing. The icing on the cake is how natural the instruments do sound. There is an energy here in the mid-range, but it's so tastefully done and never overbearing. Note weight is very good, as is how transients are relayed quite naturally with good sharp attack and natural fall off. Timbre is also good, and layering and separation is notable as well. I would call the mid-range of the Septet as a definite success with enough unique attributes that set itself apart from others in a very good way. Nicely engaging. Treble. Treble is special. Treble is extended with ample energy and commendable sparkle and air. The treble has a smooth delivery with the depth, detail retrieval, and excellent control. The high-end ear here is more refined and mature in character, even with all of this obvious energy. Another balancing act that the Septet, or I should say Kiwi Ears, have accomplished with the Septet. They've pulled it off. It never sounds harsh or edgy. While some who are treble sensitive may find the treble too energetic, it is presented in such a way that even some of those folks who might be treble sensitive can find much to like here. When listening to No Worries by Robert Glasper Trio, I was taken back by the natural sound of the cymbal work. No splashiness or overhang, just natural and clean, detailed playback. Imaging and soundstage. The open back design really makes itself clear here. The Kiwi Ears Septet offers a wide open soundstage with accurate imaging. The open back design combined with excellent driver integration and standout layering and separation work together to offer a treat to the ears. With well-recorded tracks, the soundscape comes alive in a way I have rarely heard in an IEM, regardless of price. On busier tracks, the Septet managed to keep its composure, never falling back into that wall of sound presentation where drivers may be overwhelmed or distortion may be increasing. Width is beyond the ears, and both depth and height are present in good measure. On well-recorded live tracks such as Stimula, The Coal Train by Hugh Masekela, the late great Hugh Masekela, the immersion was fantastic. Each instrument clearly audible with well-defined placement and space around them. Interestingly enough, even the venue dimensions were nicely conveyed, adding to an immersive quality of playback. Let's do some verses. I don't have it with me, but recently I did review the BGVP NS10 Pro, another standout IEM in the sub $200 category, which puts it cheaper than the Septet. But let's see how things flesh out here. The NS10 Pro is an IEM that I do like very much, as evident by my recent review. It offers a bright neutral tuning with very good detail retrieval and coherence of sound. Bass, though, on both of these presented somewhat differently. The NS10 Pro has more of a mid-bass emphasis, while the Septet favors the sub-bass. While the NS10 Pro definitely does pull in more bass detail, or should detail out of the low end, the Septet presents a low end with a meatier, more rounded sound. It really comes down to genre and personal preference, really. Both have a bass presentation I love. For those detail freaks, the NS10 Pro is definitely the go-to, with respect to being in between the two of these earphones. But both are quite musical. The mid-range is markedly different between these two iems. The mids of the Septet are not of the laid-back variety, but those mids that are present on the NS10 Pro are even more energetic. Both offer a pleasing mix of macro and micro details, so that bass is covered very well on both iems. The mid-range of the Septet has a more expansive nature to it that even the well-performing NS10 Pro can't match, combined with arguably better layering and separation on the Septet, although once again the NS10 Pro is no slouch. It is no slouch, but it's just bested in these particular metrics by the Septet. If I had to absolutely choose a winner in the mid-range, it would be a tight race, but for long listening sessions, I would probably go with the Septet. In the treble, they also have similarities and differences. Both have excellent treble extension, great performers offering energetic treble tunings with good detail retrieval. I would say very good detail retrieval for both of them. An abundant sparkle and air. That being said, in terms of organics, I would give the nod to the Septet. This can be heard when listening to tracks that have well-recorded tracks, by the way, that have very intricate cymbal work, and also on the harmonics of string instruments, although both iems, in my opinion, are keepers. In conclusion, Kiwi Ears is on a roll. The Septet is a tour de force in tech, but most importantly, it sounds very good. The engineers and tuners at Kiwi Ears have done an excellent job in crafting an IM that I thoroughly enjoy. When it comes to Soundstage, it has that special sauce. But if that was the only positive trait, it would still be a disappointment. Thankfully, it's not the only positive trait. The Septet does not have any glaring weaknesses at all. So it has a lot of positive traits. Contrary to that, the Kiwi Ears Septet is an IM that I will continue to enjoy during long and satisfying listening sessions. It's definitely not a Me Too IEM or product in both its design and tuning, as testament to the sound. The Kiwi Ears Septet gets a solid recommendation. Thank you very much for joining me once again at Silicon Sounds Audio for the rest of us. Please like, subscribe, tell your friends about us, and we look forward to bringing you further videos on reviews of portable audio products and in-ear monitors. Take care. See you next time.